Hello and welcome back to the Flying Knife channel. This video is specifically for those guys who are interested in the Ritewing Drak. I thought this might be a good time to give you an update. Now that I've owned the Drak for a while and I've had some flight time on it, I think I can give you some reasonable feedback at this point. So let's get started. One of the things that you will notice here is that unlike what I suggested in my first video, I didn't actually make this into a mapping plane. There are a couple of reasons for that, but the most straightforward one, the thing that really tipped the balance, was the fact that I noticed there was an incompatibility between the Castle Creation speed control, the ESC that I was using, and the Pixork. So I'm not sure if it is something that is specific to this unit here, because I have actually used Castle Creation's speed controllers with Pixorks before without any problems. But for some reason, this specific unit maybe, or maybe it's this model, I'm not entirely sure, did not want to play well with the Pixork. So I was actually in the process of installing the Pixork, and then I noticed that I just didn't get any throttle response. And I kept getting errors suggesting that there was an abnormal throttle control signal coming into the speed controller. So another flight controller that I had available at the time was the Vector, the Eagle Tree Vector. So I tried that and there was no problem. So what I ended up doing then was I actually installed the Vector and made the plane into an FPV plane. Now, as I said, that's probably the first reason, the most, the thing that sort of tipped the balance. However, it wasn't really that much of a difficult choice, because this plane is such a blast to fly that in some ways you really need to have more than one. So I decided that this first Drak is going to be the first one, and I will use this for a purely fun FPV aircraft. And then the next one, as soon as the kits become available, I will start building a mapping plane. But I can tell you that, just based on my experience with this, with the flying characteristics now, this plane is bound to be an excellent platform for mapping, so I'm not concerned about that at all. However, as an FPV ship, it is really just an amazing amount of fun. It's a real blast. So just to give you an overview of how I did it, I'm using a 2.4 video system, so you can see here I've gone for the Immersion RC 2.4 transmitter, 700 milliwatts, and it works like a charm. I've had absolutely no problems, worked from the get-go, and I haven't had any issues at all. I'm using a right-hand circular polarization, so there is video aerial systems antenna for that, and then I also use an easy UHF system for radio control. So there you can see the antenna sticking out there. I've got the regular size receiver sitting right there. So the nice thing about this, of course, is it gives you a lot of confidence that you will not lose the ability to control the aircraft. Even when you have challenging conditions, if you fly behind trees and so on, it's not going to be a problem. Okay, otherwise, the aircraft has really held up exceptionally well. There is another video that I will make that is about a failed launch from a catapult launcher, where the aircraft smacked into the ground quite hard. And as you can see, there is really no visible damage at all that you can see. Just before we get to the flight video, one more thing I want to show you. I ended up going with these batteries. I started off flying with two 5000 milliamp hour batteries, but then I decided to try out one of these multi-star 10,000 milliamp hour 4S batteries. It's only a 10C, but because it's a 10 amp hour battery, it actually puts out enough current so that the current is not a limitation. But it is a significant weight saving because of the low C rating on these batteries. So this battery with a Mobius and FPV camera right at the front, it balances the Drak very well with the battery right up in front against the firewall. And in terms of flight time with this battery, the Drak seems to fly quite happily. If you just cruise along, it flies at about 12 amps or so. So it gives you quite a bit of flight time using a battery like this. But I'm sure the Drak is capable of carrying more weight, so it is probably possible to increase the amp hours for the battery significantly over the 10,000 that I'm currently using. But this gives you a nice long flight time for a typical FPV flight. So with that, I think we'll go over and I'll show you some FPV flight video, so you can get a sense for how she actually flies. But absolutely happy with the plane. She lived up to expectations. Well, not just lived up to it, but exceeded expectations. A really, really sweet aircraft. Okay, I'll do some narration as we go along. Here you can see the launch. It's just straight up overhead, very easy, nothing to it. Because of the Drak's excellent low speed stability, it transitions very well from that straight up low speed into a forward flight. And here, if we take a look at the amperage draw at launch, you see it goes up to about 65 amps or so. So that's for those few seconds at full throttle just at the launch. Okay, here we go for a fly out from the airfield. And just in case some people are wondering, this is an AMA flying field. We're flying under AMA rules, so we have a visual observer and we're staying within visual line of sight. So here I'm going out over some water, some nice forested areas. You can see this is a nice site to fly around, nice scenery around here. At this point we are about 800 to 900 meters out. So here we're turning over some forestry projects. Some small-scale agriculture. And this area here that you're seeing is sort of a recreational area, ponds. People do a lot of fishing there. Some kayaking, canoeing kind of activity as well. And here we're pointing back at the flying field and moving down what we call the canyon. It's the spillway for Tuttle Creek Lake. Now, something I should point out here is that the aircraft is now flying in 2D hold mode. So whenever you try to look around, when you sort of just nudge the controls left or right, it causes this roll and then a correction. So that's where that apparent instability comes from. But as soon as you let go of the controls, then the plane just levels out and flies hands off, with a vector controlling it. So it makes for a very relaxing way of doing FPV. But if you really want to wring it out, then of course that's not the mode to use. This is mostly used for just sort of flying out and looking at the scenery. I kind of like flying over this area. You know, there are almost no people there, so it's fairly safe. You know, if you have a reliable airplane, of course. If you don't have a reliable airplane, you might end up in the water, which will not be a good thing. But you know, I have no problems with the Drak. It's a problem-free aircraft, so very reliable. Can easily fly over the water without too many worries. Here I wanted to go and investigate something that I saw earlier driving around. You can see this field right in front. It has some issues going on there. You can see some lighter areas there in the center of the field. And then really what I wanted to look at was the field just beyond. You'll see quite a bit of yellowing. That is soybean, and I'm not sure what's going on there, but it seems to be sort of in a line. You can see that line straight ahead, and if you're close by the plants, you'll see that it is yellowing that's taking place. So I'm not sure if it's leaching or what the reason is, but since it's in a line like that, it might be some flow pattern for water that's along that line, or it might be some nutrient deficiency that has taken place there. So at this point I am just over 1,000 meters away from the takeoff point. This is about the end of my range as far as visual line of sight is concerned. So an observer standing at the flying field can at this point, this reaches about the limit of where you can still see the plane. So that's why I'm not going any further here. But it is a nice area to fly. Again, you know, forests, fields, nice scenery with the water and so on. So a lot of fun to fly over here. There, right in front, you can see the dam, and behind that the lake, Tuttle Creek Lake. So our AMA flying field is just to the right of the dam there. So there I'm turning into the direction of the spillway again. And from here it's a straight flight back to the flying field. To give you a sense of the cruising speed, here I'm flying at about 15 amps of current raw. The speed is around about 80 kilometers per hour, which is about 50 miles an hour. You can also comfortably drop the amperage to about 12, which drops the speed to around about 72 kilometers per hour, which is around 45 miles an hour. Here I'm taking the plane out of stabilized mode, so I'm flying manually, a little bit closer to the deck. The speed at this stage has increased to a little bit over 100 km an hour, and I'm opening the throttle. I'm at around about 25 to 30 amps at this point. As I was flying, there were some wind gusts that came up, and you'll see the effect here as I'm going through the trees. At some point there was a bit of wind turbulence that grabbed hold of the plane right there. At this point I'll shut up and let you enjoy some aerobatic flying. Thanks for watching.